Episode 158 of the podcast. This week we're talking about how behavior issues about grooming can lead to us burning out. Find out what we can do about that this week. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Neumeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a grooming instructor at Whole Pet Grooming Academy, where I also teach my online program, Master Groomer Behavior Specialist, and I'm the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. I want to talk about burnout, and I think many of us have been there. That's often how a lot of groomers find their way to learning more about behavior, because we're just tired of trying to do beautiful trims on dogs who are not good for grooming. And I think that that's a normal thing for us to have to deal with, but the unrealistic expectations, the whole customer end, it can turn into a really dangerous situation for the groomer. Not for the owner. The owner is in no danger. We've talked a little bit the past couple weeks about talking to owners. The owner's in no danger. They just stop if they don't want to do something, But if they're paying us to do a trim on their dog, or they're paying us to do a bath or nails or whatever the case may be, and that dog is having a behavior problem, it's important for us as groomers to recognize if that's burning us out or not. Because I will tell you, I started my own house call business because I was having trouble dealing with working places that wanted me to just do the trim and make that dog look great. Dogs couldn't leave if they didn't look great. And they were kind people and they were sympathetic people and I'm friends with them. But that was the mindset way back then, he has to look right. I mean, it's nice that you worked on all that behavior stuff, but now it's time to get serious. He's going home in 20 minutes and we need to get this done. And the amount of pressure I felt when I wasn't able to do the training that in my heart of hearts, I really believed was going to change that dog. And I would have to, at the end, kind of betray all of the trust that I just built up and strong arm the end of that trim. And I think a lot of groomers are in that situation, not necessarily because anyone else has put them in that situation, but because they themselves find themselves there. And a lot of that comes down to talking to our owners about behavior as a safety issue, so that before we even encounter a behavior problem, we can talk to them about how we proceed if we find one. And what that does for us as groomers is it means that we are now free to back off, reassess, and know that the owner will understand that we are not doing a perfect trim today. Think about that for a minute, right? Now you don't have to call the owner and say, well, we've encountered a problem or he's not really good for this. You've already talked to them. And now you can go in and say, I think that I'm going to try this, and I think we're going to circle back to the head a whole bunch and see how much we can do, build toward future groomings, not worry about perfection today. I've already talked to the owner. Oh, it's so liberating. I cannot tell you how much stress that reduces in your day. So if you're a groomer who's kind of burning out on this, sometimes just knowing you have already had this discussion with the owner. And it doesn't have to be a dog who's brand new. It can be a new dog, but it could also be a dog that you've groomed a number of times. You've talked about behavior a little bit, and now you're going to be a little bit more direct. Instead of saying things like, oh, he's such a nice guy, he just gets a little bit silly for whatever, we can be more direct and we can talk to them and say, his silliness about this, he's not trying to hurt me. However, this is a safety issue because I use sharp objects. I'm trimming your dog with sharp things, and being silly or being squirrely about something is not going to be very safe. And I'd like to work on that now. And our customers that we've seen for a long time can be a little bit harder to sell on this. And let me tell you why. They're pretty convinced that their dog's always been fine, right? They're going to feel like it kind of came out of left field. So I would like for you to say, I do continuing ed, and I just learned some really neat stuff from the dog training world that I want to apply to my grooming, because I don't want to have this risk anymore. And I found some neat ways to work on it. And I find that a lot of owners take that in differently than we need to be serious about his behavior. Right? Start off with, hey, I did some continuing ed. They're going to look at you and go, groomers have continuing ed? What is that? Like your job is important or something? And all right, we know that they do. I had one of my own customers say that you guys have conferences? Like dog groomers have conferences and dog trainers have conferences? And I'm like, yeah, what? People who sell insurance have conferences, and what are they doing? They're just selling insurance. Everybody has conferences. Everybody does continuing ed in a perfect world. Of course we do. So discuss with them, I'm doing some continuing ed. I didn't know that there were a couple more things I could try with your dog, right? Express this to them. Talk to them about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how this can affect the bottom line for them. And that will relieve a lot of the stress of getting it done. I really like working on behavior problems, as you might have guessed, but I don't like working through behavior problems and ignoring the behavior problem. Does that make sense? That's not me. That stresses me out to just get it done. Just get it done no matter what this dog is doing. There's no hope in sight. There's some excuse like, oh, well, they're really old and they're not going to work with their dog. And, those are excuses, all right? I know someone out there is like, but take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Those are excuses. They're excuses. We can always find something that someone can do. And if not, they're probably not doing a great job of taking care of their dog, right? There are responsibilities that come with dog ownership. Responsibilities. So I want you to think about that. We are going to explain to them like, hey, I want to help your dog get past this. I did some continuing ed. If you'd like to listen to one of the podcasts that I listen to, here's the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I think she describes things that maybe you weren't aware of. But it'll reduce your stress if you're actually working toward progress. It's the idea that this dog is going to be this much trouble for us every single time that will make you start to hate grooming, or start hating that dog, or start hating that owner, or start hating that breed or that mixed breed. I hear a lot of people complaining about doodles, or terriers, you start hating a breed. You start thinking, oh God, I hope it's not like the others. But if we can lessen that just by preparing our owners to give us the space to do our job safely. And doing our job safely includes things like slowing down and not trying to get a head perfectly dry and perfectly trimmed if their dog is not well prepared for our services. And that's an important way to word it for owners too. Your dog is not well prepared for our services. If their dog runs away every time they turn on a vacuum cleaner, their dog is probably not going to be particularly great about a high velocity dryer near their head. And I think as groomers, we kind of think all the problems are grooming problems. But if we were looking at the actual bigger picture, if you went to visit them at their house, let's say, you went over there, they're friends or whatever, and you saw a dog behaving in a particular way, you would instantly think, oh, I bet he's a problem in grooming. I bet he does not do well with grooming because he has problems outside of grooming. So we burn out because we take on more than we have to. We are pet stylists. We don't need to take on everybody else's problem. If they are unwilling to work on things, we need to explain to them why working on it is in their best interest, right? And we also need to put down a hard pass on things that we think are unsafe. This is how we avoid burnout. And like I said, I've been at burnout, I've been there, and I was like, God, I made so much progress with this dog, and now you're telling me, yeah, but he can't go home looking like that. We actually have to get those feet looking perfect. Why? Right? It was infuriating. And then finally, 28-year-old version of Chrissy says, I love you guys. This has been great working here. I think I'm going to start my own business. And I remain friends with those people. They're awesome people. right? And things change over time. I think that it's more mainstream now to talk about behavior, but it stressed me out because I know that I can teach dogs to be more comfortable with it. And that's interesting too. Knowing that you can help and then making sure that you have the conversation with owners so that they also are on board so that you can do your job the way that you feel is properly. Right? The difference between I'm getting this trim done, we don't sell haircuts, we sell haircutting services. And that dog is going to have grooming needs its entire life. Fighting with a dog, fighting them through it and pushing them through it is one of the big stressors in dog grooming. And it's one of the times when we start having time constraints. We're like, oh my God, I had no idea that this dog was going to be like this. This is not going to take me like just an hour. This is going to take me so much longer. I don't even know how long this is going to take me and how far this backs up my day. And even just talking about it stresses you out, right? Think about it right now. That's stressing me out just talking about it. Like, oh my God, we're so far in the weeds. That next dog hasn't even gotten in the tub yet. Because behavior problems stall everything. They take longer. And groomers are often worried about how to charge for that. So we're going to continue talking about that in the next part. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes and tell all of your friends. So I can almost hear it now. But Chrissy, they aren't going to pay for us to do any training. They're not going to pay extra for this. They're not going to pay extra for the extra time. They're never going to pay that. And for that conversation, I want you as a groomer and anybody else who's learning about dog grooming and the grooming process through this podcast, I want you as a dog groomer right now to think about other times when you put your foot down on your procedures. Dematting. Do you demat for free? God, I hope not. Do you just do like, oh, well, it took me an extra hour, but I'm going to charge another $5? Gosh, I hope not, right? Dematting fees are also your dog is unprepared for a haircut today. Owners were not quite bringing the same job in that we were prepared for. There was a disconnect, and we need to talk about it. Like, okay, so what are we doing for a trim instead? Or are we brushing out? Or are we going to try to do all of it? And let me see if I have time in my schedule for that, because we booked a haircut, not a haircut demat festival, right? So I want you to be owning this whole behavior thing. Like, listen, this is not the average haircut. This is not what we do all day. Your dog has some behavior issues. Now, that doesn't mean your dog is a bad dog. Gosh, no. No, there are a lot of things about grooming that are difficult for dogs to do. But, and here's the thing where I get really stern about it with owners, but we can work through it. We can help them be better for it. And that is my goal. If I continue to just do the job and get the job done, well, he needs his nails trimmed, if I just force him through, that is exactly how we create a dog who is bad for it their entire life. So no, the customer is not always right. Think about times when you've told them, like, I cannot just do a trim over these mats. The customer is not always right. All right, and we can be kind about that, and we can describe a variety of ways to help them understand that, but the customer's not always right. If I go to my mechanic and say, actually, I don't want the rotors or the calipers replaced, just the brake pads today, thank you. They can't do that for me if my calipers and rotors need to be replaced, right? The customer's not always right when it comes to brake jobs. Brake jobs are safety. So for the same reason, we can help our owners understand, like, what you want me to do is not in your dog's best interest or in my best interest, because behavior problems are when dogs get hurt, people get hurt, and equipment gets broken. If your dog gets hurt, sure, I have insurance to cover your vet bill, but I also have a $500 deductible. Your I paid good money for that nail trim means nothing if I have to pay a vet bill, right? Your I paid good money for that haircut means nothing if I get hurt and I have to be out of work for a couple of days, right? Your I paid good money for that haircut means nothing if your dog destroyed $2,000 worth of equipment. I'm thinking about a picture I saw of a table that got knocked over, one of the really expensive, nice tables, and it's probably not destroyed, but still, who wants their table to get beat up like that? So own it, and it will lessen your stress, right? I still work with behavior problems. I love working with behavior problems, but the owner is on board. The owner is paying for my time. The owner is paying for my effort. And I usually have that set up as how much time I'm spending. And not like a by the minute, but, kind of a loose hourly rate. I figure out how much more time I spent on the behavior than if I were just doing grooming. I get paid for my time. I don't want you to feel like you're losing money working on a behavior problem and you could have groomed 3 small dogs, right? That's not how this should work. If you're working on a behavior problem, I want you to be working on it in the safest way. I want you to be enthused about it, feel safe, feel like you're getting paid, and just work on that dog instead of 3 good little dogs. I know, good, bad, so labely today. I don't want to think about dogs in terms of good or bad, but the dogs who are well-behaved for grooming, you could do 3 well-behaved little dogs in the same time it could take you to do this one dog who has behavior issues. But if you're getting paid and you're getting set up to do it nicely and you're seeing progress, which is another key thing about burnout, if you're not seeing progress, if there's no signs that this is working, that'll burn you out. Think back to, I want this dog to be successful. The dog and I are a team. We're not adversaries. We're a team. And if Team Chrissy and Spot can get this done more effectively each time, and Team Chrissy and Spot can become friends, and Team Chrissy and Spot make progress, and Chrissy gets paid, and Spot's nice and safe, right? That's how we're going to decrease some of our burnout. And if we have owners who are absolutely adamant that they are not going to help out, here's the tough talk, right? What do we do about matting? I can't give you what you want. I can't give you what you want. What my mechanic would say, I can't just replace your brake pads. Your brakes are a hot mess. I need to replace all of this for safety. I can't responsibly let that go out of my garage that way. So if we talk to our owners and they are not interested, right? The burden falls on us to try to help them understand. Some of them are just going to be like, I don't care. And it's sad and it's awful. And that creates burnout too. That owners are like, yeah, I don't care. Just hold him down and get his nails done. The last groomer did it. Yeah, why don't you go to her anymore? Oh, yeah, she doesn't want us back. Yeah, right? Because it's going to hurt her, So own it and know that the customer is not always right. And here's another point that I don't think I've made on this podcast for a while. Here we go. Owning a dog is a luxury. You do not need to own a dog. Owning a dog is a luxury. Having your dog, your luxury, groomed by a professional dog groomer is a luxury service for a luxury item. Nobody goes broke repairing jet skis. Why? Because you don't need to have a jet ski. Your jet ski isn't getting you to work. Your jet ski isn't an important part of your commute or how you get your groceries, right? Right? There are no charities out there helping people with their jet skis, right? So be thinking about, I don't have to take on everybody else's problems. I'm running a business. This is a career. And if you do choose to do it as a charity, let me talk about how you can do that without burnout. For example, there are people who are just plain have some physical problems that are going to make it hard for them to do some of the grooming, or make it hard for them to do some of the things that you want to recommend. And if that's the case, and you really are trying to help them out, and you're like, listen, I get it, I don't even know what it would be like to be 90 and have a puppy that requires this kind of brushing and is nipping at me, If you are trying to help them out, the goodness of your heart, put them on a schedule where you are seeing that dog often enough that you are doing most of the work for them. And that's how you're going to negate that. And if they're like, oh, I can't possibly bring my dog in every week. Yeah, sometimes it really is still them saying, I just don't want to. And it breaks our hearts, but find out, right? I will do charity work for people. Of course I will. But I'm not going to do every 6 weeks, do some sort of like a strap him down, haul him over, and, groom him while he struggles and screams. No, that's not how this works at all. So if we're going to do retraining and we're going to help them out because we feel that they need our help, then we're going to do it right. And we're going to have them come in frequently for my help. And maybe that's charity, maybe that's entirely charity, maybe that's minimal cost, whatever. But have them commit to some part of it. That's important. Have them commit to some part of it. Maybe it's that, they actually spend the time letting you work with that dog every week. And that will help reduce some of the burnout that we feel. And sometimes you just have to let a customer go. And it's sad. It's sad because we look at that dog and go, gosh, I hope they hear the same message at every grooming shop and vet that they go to. And in my area, that's becoming the case, which is awesome, where groomers are like, okay, well, he has some fears about this that we need to work on. And they're like, oh, I keep hearing that. Like, yeah, of course you keep hearing that because we don't need to get hurt. I do pretty doggy haircuts. I work with puppies. I do pretty doggy haircuts. I get to choose if I'm going to work with a dog or not. And your dog could hurt me. The way things are going, your dog could get hurt. Your dog could hurt me. Your dog could break all the equipment, right? Like if we're not working on behavior, that burns groomers out. And it used to be, I don't know if it's still true, but it used to be the burnout rate was about 7 years. If you made it past 7 years as a dog groomer, you were probably a lifer and pretty resilient and able to stick with it. It used to be about 7 years. I don't know if that's still true, but it can be a really stressful job. So I want you to take the behavior part really seriously, even with dogs that you've been seeing for years, and just talk to our owners, describe it, tell them what we need, tell them why we need it, and keep it in your head. The customer is not always right. Our customers don't understand. So they have choices, and it's up to us to try to help them understand why we do business and make our recommendations the way that we do. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you. If you're ready to go beyond the podcast, and I hope you do, I've made it really easy for you. If you go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step, you'll see all of the options. There's the Scholar Lounge community, there's the Modern Grooming Professional Certification, there's Master Canine Stylist and Professional Canine Stylist Diploma testings, there's the Behavior Lab for coaching and private one-on-one sessions with me, and of course, the Master Groomer Behavior Specialist program. So go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step.